Hello, sociology scholars. Mrs. Olson here. Today's lesson is titled Urbanization, and it falls within our Population and Environment unit. The learning target reads that you will be able to discuss patterns of urbanization. So make sure that you're ready with a writing utensil and a piece of paper, or of course you can take the notes digitally. All right, so our overarching question is, what is urbanization? Now, we're going to start this off with a definition, which in part can answer that question. So the definition of urbanization from the sociological perspective is a process by which an increasingly larger portion of the world's population lives in or very near cities. So the historical definition of urbanization is a little bit different than the sociological perspective. From the sociological perspective, we're going to be looking at groups of people living in the cities, what pulls them or attracts them to the cities, and then of course the impact or the effect that urbanization has on the environment, and then of course on groups of people. Okay, almost as many people live in urban areas as rural. So when we're talking about today's time frame, almost as many people live in urban areas as rural, okay? The U.S. Census Bureau defines an urban area as a place with a population of 2,500 people or more. All right, now we have to take a step back for just a second and talk about where this definition came from. So in the early part of the 20th century, so early 1900s, urbanization had just begun and population concentrations were actually pretty low. So this number, it's actually a low threshold for modern times. The Census Bureau today now distinguishes between two types of urban areas. One is an urbanized area, which has 50,000 people or more. And then they actually have a second one that is phrased as an urban cluster, and that has 2,500 to 50,000. Okay, so that just gives you a little bit of background on that Census Bureau definition. Okay, what else makes an urban area an urban area, or what else makes a city a city? Okay, a city has to be long lasting. So let's use a non-example to help us understand the concept of an urban area. Think about a concert or a sporting event or even a political rally, right? All of those events include a large number of people in one area, but they are not long lasting. So cities, while they have a lot of people, they also have to be long lasting. They have to last more than a day or two or three, which sometimes an event can last that long. Okay, they also have a centralized economic focus. There is a way for people to earn money. So let's take the city of Seattle as an example. Of course, this is Elliott Bay here, and with the ability to access water, we have ways in which to make money, essentially, off of that water. There's a water industry. So here are the docks, which employs many people, and there are many businesses which use this area of Seattle for economic reasons. Here's the big downtown business area, a lot of commerce, money, business in the downtown area. And then of course, an economic focus can also be in industry like the sporting industry. Okay, so cities are long lasting and they have to have a centralized economic focus. Our next slide is titled World Urbanization. Okay, so we're going to be looking at a lot of statistics on this slide. From the 1800s to the mid-1980s, the number of urban dwellers increased 100 times. Okay, now look at this next note. The population, however, increased only about 5-fold. So we have a lot of people that are flocking to the cities. Another statistics, we're going to fast forward just a bit in historical time. In 2011, the United Nations, so I'm right here, the United Nations reported that at least 50% of the world's population lived in urban areas. Okay, so if ever I'm going too fast or you need to take a minute to kind of think and process, go ahead and pause the video to maybe replay it or rethink it, or just to spend a teeny bit more time on the note, okay? Another statistic, by 2030, that number is projected to rise nearly 60%. So 2030, not that far away. The population of the world is only supposed to increase. And then, of course, we're talking specifically about that number increasing in cities, urban areas, okay? Waiting for that to go away. The explosion of the urban population, it threatens to severely damage natural resources and ecosystems. The more people that move into a city, the more press, the more impact it's going to have on the environment. People need water, people need food, and of course that is going to have a direct connection to the natural world. Okay. So this is just a picture of Mumbai, India, to give you the idea of an urban area and then congestion in an urban area. Okay, so going back to our learning target, which reads that you are going to be able to discuss patterns of urbanization. This is where where it really all starts. So the first few slides before this was to give you a definition, perspective, and statistics. Okay, so we're going to start with the concept of over-urbanization, which is defined as a situation in which a city cannot supply adequate jobs and housing for its inhabitants. Just because people move into a city doesn't mean that there's jobs, and it doesn't mean that there is a place for them to live. We're going to talk about why people go to the city even if they don't have a job or a place to live. Okay, so hang with me for a second. We're going to be talking about the comparison of less developed nations against more developed nations, or a developed nation. Okay, back up just a second. Cities in less developed nations have high rates of urban unemployment. Okay, so in countries that are not considered developed, progressed, think about the West, in comparison to countries that don't have the same amount of money, business, industry, okay? Cities in more developed countries, they actually form a pyramid, and I've got a graphic to reinforce this idea. There's few large cities on top of this pyramid concept. There are medium-sized cities in the middle, and then there's a large base of small cities. Okay, so here we go with that graphic reinforcement with a couple of large cities in this developed country. In the middle is the medium-sized cities, and then we have a larger base of smaller cities. Okay. So continuing with patterns of urbanization. In many less developed countries, there is one tremendous city that dwarfs a large number of villages. Examples of this one tremendous city is Calcutta, or Calcutta, India. Today it is referred to as Kolkata, and then Mexico City in Mexico. Okay, of the world's 10 largest cities, only 3, Shanghai, Buenos Aires, and Calcutta, or Kolkata, they were in less developed countries in 1950. Okay, here's more statistics. By 2003, 7 of the top 10 largest urban areas were in less developed countries. And by 2025, it is predicted that there will be 37 megacities with populations of 10 million or more. Okay, so we're going to stop right here for part number 1. You're going to have to click back to the lesson page to get to part number 2.